No?
エクスアイアスカリバーベルレフォー
Every anime season has good fights, and then there are those fights. The ones where animators wake up and choose violence. You know the type, don't you? Where every punch, kick and explosion looks like it was handcrafted by actual gods. Where physics doesn't exist, characters are teleporting through dimensions, and the camera itself needs some therapy. These are the fights that made the entire fandom scream, "Who animated this?" This is when animators stopped drawing and started flexing. If there's one thing Blades of the Guardians proves early on, it's that this series isn't afraid to go full throttle when it comes to its action sequences. And the clash between Dauma, the double-headed snake, and Changuren is basically the animator screaming, "Watch what we can do." It's one of the cleanest sword fights to ever exist. After this scene, it's clear the Blades of the Guardians belongs in the top dogs of the best animated action series out there. Pure, unfiltered animator flexing at its finest.
你先受死吧，渣子！下一个就是你，走好！
When people talk about fights where animators just go wild, Shinra vs. Sho is always in the conversation, and for good reason too. David Production turned what could have been a simple clash of brothers into one of the slickest, most technically impressive battles in modern shonen. Shinra's rapid bursts are drawn with insane motion blur and streaking effects, while Sho's time-freeze sequence flips the perspective completely, letting the audience feel the distortion of time itself. What I absolutely love about this fight is the long silences in time-stop moments that explode into high-speed clashes. It just creates a rhythm that keeps you locked in throughout. Cleaver is the kind of show that sneaks up on you and then completely blows you away. The battle between hero Alicia and Drell is proof that this series knows exactly how to flex its animation budget at the perfect moment. Alicia moves with sharp, calculated strikes, while Drell just oozes strength with that terrifying regeneration. The clash feels so intense because the animators really leaned into their differences. Her clean swordplay versus his monstrous, almost unstoppable power. Instead of spamming quick cuts, the fight slows to let the exchanges breathe. The sound design pushes it even further, with metal grinding, ground-shaking impacts, and a score that swells right when Alicia gains the upper hand. Moving on, we've got Mob vs Mogami, a fight where Studio Bones decided to push the medium to its absolute limit. The camera swings through warped perspectives, the backgrounds melt and twist, and every frame hits like a visual gut punch. It's like the animators decided to make episode 5 the finale with how good it looked. Mogami's spirit world forced the visuals to break all rules of reality, and Bones fully commits. Mob's powers shake the whole landscape, the spirits look twisted and creepy, and the explosion feels like they're warping the screen. Even Mob himself transforms in a way that looks like the art style has been hijacked by another show entirely, and it works perfectly to sell the moment. There are sword fights in anime, and then there's Nanashi versus Luolang from Sword of the Stranger. This fight is pure precision and speed brought to life with some of the cleanest animation you'll ever see. Now, this whole fight scene is so smooth, it almost feels like motion capture, but sharper, more exaggerated, and I mean in the best possible way. Even the smallest details like Nanashi adjusting his grip or Luolang's footwork are drawn with so much care that the whole duel feels alive. And even the sound design adds to the intensity of this fight. The silence between the strikes feeds the atmosphere as well. It's no wonder people call this one of the greatest anime fights of all time. This fight is proof that with the right animators, a sword fight can feel bigger than any explosion-filled battle you've ever seen. Some fights in My Hero Academia feel like pure spectacle, but this one's on another level. When Deku, Bakugo and Shoto team up against Dark Might, the animation flexes every trick in the book to make it unforgettable. From the start of this one, Dark Might feels larger than life. His regeneration, crushing strength and menacing aura make him look unstoppable. But instead of just rushing the pace, the animators give the action some room to breathe. Deku chaining together state-name smashes is drawn with an intensity that makes every blow feel heavier than the last. Bakugo's explosive aerial strikes cut across the screen in sharp flashes, while Shoto's fire and ice combos fill the battlefield with stunning contrast of colour. By the end, you're watching three young heroes prove they can stand against the impossible, and the animators made sure you feel their resolve in your bones. Few fights in Bleach hit as hard, literally and visually, as Yamamoto vs Yuha. This fight is an era-defining clash, and the animation team made sure it felt like the weight of 1,000 years crashing down. The moment Yamamoto draws his blade, the screen practically melts with the heat of Zankan no Tachi. The animators did so well showing off Yamamoto's overwhelming presence and created a suffocating atmosphere that made it feel like the entire Soul Society could have just vanished in seconds. I was absolutely in awe of the scale of this entire fight, but at the same time, you can feel the sense of dread creeping in as well. This alone is proof that the animation team was not playing at all. The pacing slows at the right moments, letting Yamamoto's fury and Yuha's cunning sink in before exploding again with god-tier animation cuts. Even if the ending stings, this fight knew how to animate a final stand. Grand, terrifying, and unforgettable. Up next, we have the kind of fight that feels less like a scene from an anime and more like a flex reel for what Ufotable can do when they throw the budget out the window. It's absolutely stunning how gorgeous Saber Alta's powers are. They look like literal paintings on their own. And then there's Ryder, who goes full mythic mode with Bellerophon, crashing through Alta's overwhelming darkness in a way that makes you want to pause every second for a wallpaper. There's barely any dialogue, no long monologues, just pure action that speaks for itself. You can tell the animators poured every ounce of love into this sequence, with fluid choreography that flows like a dance, and sound design that hits your chest like a subwoofer at max volume. The entire scene is beautiful and brutal at the same time. His way to the list, we have Levi fighting Kenny and his squad in Attack on Titan. Now this fight is chaos at its finest. Levi goes from quietly scouting with his squad to dodging bullets, flipping through windows and slicing through an entire squad in a scene so fast you have to rewatch it at 0.2x just to appreciate the details. Which studio choreographed pure insanity with perspective shots that make the camera feel like it's flying alongside Levi's ODM gear? And yeah, this is also one of those fights where every frame could be a wallpaper. No wonder this fight is one of the most rewatched fight sequences in the history of anime. And people joked about, don't bring a knife to a gunfight, but Levi literally proves that's why that rule doesn't apply to him. The entire fight scene is peak Witch Studio, peak Levi, and peak Attack on Titan. Now this fight is one of the most grounded hand-to-hand animations. The usual fights have that reality-bending magic going on, but this fight scene doesn't need any of that. The fight choreography is done so well that it rivals live-action martial arts films. The animation was full of details, camera work inspired by cinema, and subtle body physics that make the fight feel brutally realistic. This was 90s animation flexing so hard that even decades later, people call it one of the cleanest hand-to-hand anime battles ever put on screen. Sometimes an anime fight comes along that feels less like a battle and more like a test of willpower, and Garfield vs. Kurgan in Re:Zero is exactly that. It's shocking how Re:Zero, a series that usually thrives on psychological torment and time loop tragedies, suddenly delivered one of the most brutal and beautifully animated fights in the franchise. And when I say brutal, I mean feral. Garfield fights like an absolute beast, throwing himself at Kurgan with zero hesitation. Vincent Chansard didn't hold back here at all. Let's be real, your room is more than a room. It's a shrine. And if you're a true fan, you know a shrine isn't complete without some serious flexes. And the anime merch, they get it. They're not here to sell you junk that belongs in a filler episode. They're here to give your setup the kind of glow up that even Goku would be impressed by. Their figures, they're so detailed, you'll be staring at them for so long that you'll pull a Zorro and get lost. These aren't the kind of cheap figures where Naruto looks like he's having a mid-shadow clone crisis. These are the ones that make your friends say, damn, is that Gear 5 Luffy? And let's discuss the atmosphere. Why turn on a lame overhead light when you can power up your room with a lamp that feels like you've just unleashed a Rasengan? Their night lamps don't just glow, they're the perfect partner for those just one more episode sessions that last until dawn. Your room deserves its own epic opening theme. Stop waiting around like a filler character and start living like the main character. Power up your setup now and use Vini for 10% off your entire order. I've already placed my order, so now it's your turn. Click the link in the description and use code Vini for 10% off your entire order. When Madhouse decides to remind the world why they're legends, you get Frieren versus Frieren. This fight feels like literal visual storytelling. Right from the opening seconds, the duel feels different. Both Frierens don't waste time with flashy gestures, they predict, counter, and mirror each other's barriers with frightening precision. Then, the gloves come off. Volzan Bell rains hellfire, and Judge Regime cracks the sky with divine lightning. There's so much detail in that animation, oh my god. I've been watching anime for a very, very long time, so trust me when I say that this scene could practically melt your screen. The clone matchup also gives us a rare glimpse of Frieren's speed. Watching her close gaps instantly and cast point-blank spells sells the idea that she's not just strong, she's terrifyingly efficient.
内エネルギーの放出を推進力としてパワーを引き出せ。
And now it's time for the fight that still gets talked about even after a decade. And sure, there's no denying that the animation of that fight scene is god tier, but first we have to talk about Baldi's opponent here. You see, Boros has found the kind of opponent he'd always yearned for, but Saitama feels nothing about it. Tragic. For once, the villain is the one chasing the shonen dream, and the hero, well, I guess he's just humouring him. Every frame of Saitama versus Boros feels like it was drawn to break the laws of physics. The scale of the fight is where it really flexes. Instead of just showing punches, we get two demolishing the spaceship, following Boros and Saitama as they get launched, crashing through walls and bouncing into frame. And then came the moment for serious punch. Saitama didn't even need to land his final move. The shockwave alone ripped Boros' ultimate attack apart and split the clouds like a god, casually just clearing the sky. Jaws to the floor. The animation definitely did this fight justice. When anime fans talk about peak animation, Dragon Ball Super Broly always gets thrown into the conversation, and for good reason. With Broly and Gogeta, you can tell the animators were let loose with complete creative freedom. The colour palette alone feels explosive, with neon greens, blues and yellows looking like actual fireworks. The hand-drawn work also blends seamlessly with digital effects. The camera doesn't stay still either. It spins, zooms and even blurs out of focus like you're actually struggling to keep up with the two titans rewriting the battlefield in real time. At one point, they literally fight so hard they break reality and crash into another dimension. The transition feels smooth instead of sloppy. It's honestly the kind of animation that just overwhelms, and Dragon Ball never looked this good. Now, onto a fight that reminded everyone why these two are legends. Boruto had been a hit or miss, but when this battle dropped, it was like Studio Period decided to empty their budget, and it shows too. The choreography is ridiculously smooth, almost movie quality, with Naruto and Sasuke combining each other's styles like they've been fighting side by side forever. The camera work of this fight scene is just insane. The fight looks chaotic but never messy. The way both Naruto and Sasuke tag team Momoshiki feels like watching two legends remind everyone why they're untouchable. And the way Naruto and Sasuke redefined their old Land of Waves combo, it was just mwah. It literally felt like Naruto and Sasuke stepping out of the past and flexing one more time. Some fights are cool, some are hype, and then there are highly anticipated battles that make you sit back and watch in awe. That's exactly what Sung Jin-woo versus the Ant King felt like. A1 Pictures really unleashed it like a nuke. Sung Jin-woo and the Ant King were literally moving at the speed of light. 1 second they were blurs of raw energy, The next they snapped back into detail so sharp it left your jaw on the floor. The animators leaned into Beru's feral panic, giving us close-ups of his desperation, while Jinwoo stood calm, precise, and terrifying. The little touches with Beru's claws sparking against Jinwoo's daggers, the aura farming, the insane OST drops, it all just made it one of the most viral anime fight scenes ever. Coming in with 5 more absolute monsters, we have the 5 Elders who arrive at Egghead. When the 5 Elders finally made their move on Egghead, it feels like One Piece has crossed into straight up kaiju horror territory. For decades, fans thought these guys were just old politicians pulling strings from the shadows, but the anime flips that idea on its head with a reveal that's pure nightmare fuel. Their arrival is staged like the gates of hell opening, massive forms, earth-shaking roars, and camera work that makes them look like unstoppable monsters towering over everything. Instead of just copying a few manga panels, the anime expanded these moments into a cinematic showcase. The episode even leans into the classic Japanese sci-fi vibes, with framing that feels straight out of Godzilla or Shadow of the Colossus. Truly a sight to behold. Let's talk about X versus everyone. To be Hero X, because in this fight the animator said, budget? What budget? This wasn't some drawn out battle of equals. X could have ended it in a second, but instead he turned it into a reality bending showcase, and the animators made sure that he flexed in every second of it. From switching seamlessly between 2D and 3D to warping whole dimensions with a snap, the team behind this episode basically said, we're making anime history, so deal with it. The choreography is insane. X catches energy blasts in a soda can, turns a poster car into reality, and clowns on entire squads of heroes while aura farming with Ahu. Honestly, everything in this scene makes it one of the coolest depictions of a reality warper ever animated. Moving on, we have a fight that gives peak shonen tag team energy. Yuji and Todo versus Hanami. You've got Yuji learning on the fly, pulling off black flashes like he's been doing it for years, while Todo plays the perfect mentor and hype man, guiding himself mid-battle. The animation sells that growth. Then there's Todo himself, and man, his boogie woogie is a flex. The constant swapping, the camera tracking mid-clap, the clean transitions, nothing actually ever feels messy or rushed in this one. It's chaotic in concept, but the animators keep it so fluid that you always know exactly where everyone is. Now that's hard to pull off in fast-paced choreography, you know? And let's not forget the flair, like that triple kick sequence people still rave about, or the way the environment reacts to Hanami's attacks. Even when the fight slows down for Yuji and Todo's bro moments, the pacing doesn't even break. It just makes the hype comeback hit harder. And to wrap things up, we've got Muzan versus Guillaume, the fight that finally showed why the stone Hashira is feared even amongst Hashira. The animation hits on a different level. Like, look at these moments. They're controlled and so damn graceful. It's very hard to pull off something like that, but it seems like it was nothing for Ufotable. And when Muzan counters, the screen practically shakes with his rage, pushing the animation into overdrive. The lightning, the speed lines, the camera angles, it all screams final boss battle. For nearly a full minute, it's straight peak animation. It's rare to see a scene where you can say the strongest Hashira and the strongest demon were animated with equal fury, but here, they absolutely nailed it.
You get attacked!
And with that, we're wrapping up this list of the moments when the animators flex too hard. Now, we're sure that we've missed out some of your favourite entries, or at least your ranking will be a little bit different from ours, so don't keep us hanging. Be sure to comment down below any entrances that you think should have made this list. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so we can show you more of the best moments around. See you next time.